Welcome to Hello World. We are usually thought that Hello World is where things begin. In reality, it's where things stop being simple. This podcast is a coffee conversation about what comes after real systems, real teams, and the technical decisions that actually shape day to day work. Today, we have with us Moumita Das, Enterprise Sales Head at Okta, a seasoned enterprise sales leader with over 15 years of experience in cybersecurity, strategic partnerships, and business growth across India and the SAARC region. Welcome, Moumita.
Thank you, Garesh. Lovely meeting you today.
Same here. So let me begin today's show with the rapid fire round. Usually, it's not very common for us. I thought of bringing this because the topic has been so interesting. Right, we're talking about security. I thought, why don't we have a rapid fire round? Passwords, necessary, evil, or overdue for retirement?
Oh my God, definitely overdue for retirement.
Okay. One thing people trust online way too easily.
Links.
Yeah, I get that. And I can tell you that I was once upon a time a victim. I mean, long, long ago, right? Uh, but quick enough to even block my cards.
Was
So
that from a Nigerian prince?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Next question. More dangerous, weak passwords or overconfident employees?
Overconfident employees. I mean, I cannot tell enough about it. Weak passwords are okay, but overconfident employees think that their passwords are strong, and that is the biggest illusion.
Next question. If you could delete one security habit from the world tomorrow, what would it be?
I would say that, just trusting everything blindly.
Okay, good answer. So, what's something people do every day online that would shock security professionals?
Oh my God, trusting MFA and trusting OTPs. The moment OTPs come, people just give it without even verifying if they have created that MFA request or not.
I think I can also correlate that. Right. Recently, I heard an incident. Where one of my colleague ended up clicking a link, and then that turned out to be a phishing, and that colleague lost a lot of money, and it's still on the way of recovering this from the banks. So I totally relate that. So one word that comes to mind when you hear authentication,
Identity, a user
identity.
identity.
Okay. Next question. Complete this sentence. The future of login experiences is
I would say a seamless experience.
seamless experience. Yeah. Okay. Next question. What's the bigger challenge today? Keeping bad actors out or making life easier for good users?
Making life easier for good users because trust me, keeping bad actors out has some security components where you can put multiple levels of security controls, but making it easier for the good people, that is the toughest part because there is no limit to what a bad actor can do and how you will make it simple for the good users.
Got it. So, next one. What's one thing every employee should know about digital identity?
That this is something which will keep you safe and you should always focus onto it. This is not an afterthought. This is something which you should think even before developing an application.
Perfect. I'll definitely keep that in my mind because I have few products as well, right? Uh, so the next one, if your digital identity had a report card today, what grade do you think most people would get?
To not sound too negative, I think so I would give it a B. And that's because a lot of people are aware of security, they are going towards security, and they are trying to make security part of their life, which is important. It's not those days where people had no idea about what cybersecurity is, but today everyone is aware of it, and that is something which is good.
I know it's a rapid fire round, but I was just thinking of the challenges that today's people may have to go through, especially coming from rural parts of India, rural parts of world where the education becomes a challenge in those parts of the place, right? So yeah, that's it. I think these were the questions what I had for rapid round, and so we can certainly continue with a lot more questions today. I'm glad that we have you in our studio. So let me ask you something here, right? I feel like cybersecurity used to be all about protecting systems. When did protecting people or identity become the bigger challenge?
That's a lovely question. Now let me tell you something. We have seen that almost few years back, let's say a decade back, everything was inside and outside. We used to even write security policies on the routers and firewalls where we used to write that, this is an inside policy. So which means that if you are inside an environment, inside a protected environment, you are secured. But today, your employee works from a coffee shop or maybe from the airport.
Yeah.
What is inside? What is outside there? An outsider might come to your office and work, just like how I came to your place and I started connecting to your guest network.
True.
Where is that inside and outside? I'm an outsider, but I've connected to your inside network.
Yeah.
So there is no definition of perimeter anymore. Your users are the perimeter. They are the first, I would say, the boundary through which a breach can enter, an attacker can enter and cause a breach. So your users are the perimeter, and that's why they're the most important ones today.
Yeah, I totally can correlate that, right? I mean, through the COVID, we had this work from anywhere, and that each site, we generally talk about site reliability, engineering, security at the site level. Now, each employee becomes a site by himself, right, or by herself. I think that's a great answer. Let's start with the obvious question everyone is probably thinking. What exactly does Okta do?
This is the question which I asked myself when I joined Okta. And the tagline is we enable everyone to use any technology securely.
Okay.
So now, what does that mean? You must have watched movies like Avengers, and there is this Norse mythology character known as Heimdall,
Yeah.
who is the guardian of Asgard, and he actually allows a person to enter or exit based on what they try to access.
Okay.
And that is exactly what Okta does. So Okta will make sure that the right person gets the right access to the right resources at the right time.
Perfect. I was just waiting. When will you say the right time? I think that's most important. To get the access right time at the speed of the business, right? What's funny is most people have probably used Okta without even realizing, that Okta existed behind the scenes, right? Is that true?
Oh my God, that's absolutely true. Now, let me tell you. So, today morning, you must have checked your emails.
Yeah, I did.
You might have checked your HRMS portal to identify like how many leaves you have or the claims to be submitted or maybe any kind of task. Or maybe you must have also gone to so many other applications,
True.
Access, Jira and different applications which your company allows you.
Yeah.
You have used Okta.
Perfect.
You must have also used many consumer applications, maybe like a car app, like a booking a car app,
Yep.
or maybe ordering your food, or maybe just watching something on OTT,
OTTs.
or you might just be using a connected car app. You have used Okta. You
I've
have
used
touched
Okta.
Okta.
Awesome. When you talk to customers for the first time, what's the problem they think they have versus the problem they actually have?
Oh, this is a very interesting one. Now, when I used to start talking to customers, most of the times they used to think that I need to maintain a lot of username, passwords. So they start thinking from that infrastructure mindset where they want to think about how do I scale it up or how do I keep such a huge database? Do I need to migrate it to something like a Kubernetes or something like that? Now, that is just one part of the problem. The main issue, what I feel is, or what I have realized from talking to different customers, is when you try to provide access to your customers or your users, your employees, in a very seamless manner. Now imagine if you are an employee and you have 10 applications to work onto and you have to give 10 different username passwords or maybe same username but different passwords.
Yeah.
Would you like it?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. So that is something which has to be focused on.
True. I think I totally get what you're saying because I remember good old days. I don't want to name them here, but we used to have these browser-based password managers. which gets added on as an extension to the browser. And I was surprised that a few days ago when I was looking at where all my identities has been compromised, and I was surprised to see that one of these browser extensions was also in the list. So yeah, I think that's where I think Okta can bring in the difference. So at what point does a company realize, okay, we have outgrown spreadsheets and sticky notes for managing access?
Let me give you a quick story on that.
Mhm.
You establish your company, the first day you might have like 4 to 5 employees.
Correct.
Great. You create their credentials, you give it to them, they log in. Perfect. Now you want to grow, definitely, right? And you are growing. While you are growing, you grow up to 100 users. So you again have to go back to your developer and say that increase, give them the credentials, give them access to different platforms. Then you grow up to 1,000. So most of the times I have seen when they grow from a 10 to 20 people company or having consumers like around 100 to up to 1,000 or beyond that, that's where people realize. But let me tell you, Girish, a very interesting thing here. Most of the people realize during security audits.
True.
That is where they realize that the system which I have created is not enough. This is good to have, but we have to make it better because security, once it's breached, it becomes very difficult to even get back. And the repercussions are really high. So I would say any company, like having any mergers, acquisitions, or maybe in a growing, a very hyper growth platform. So these are the people where they realize, along with security audits, that this is the right time we should go ahead with an enterprise grade solution.
Great. So how many applications does the average employee actually use in a day now?
Lovely question. Now, I use approximately around 10 to 20 applications on a day-to-day basis. And I would say this, that do not only think that these are the company applications which we are using.
Right.
There are a lot of other applications which we use. And those consumer applications are also corporate applications.
Yep.
If you order food from an application, that is also an application belonging to that particular corporate.
Yeah, correct.
So I would say 10 to 20 applications on an average.
Sure. I think I can correlate. Maybe a little more than 20
Yeah.
for me. But now, because, just on a lighter note, now a lot of this AI LLM solutions also, as an application you install like Claude or Gemini and things like that. So I can slightly increase that number. So do people underestimate how complicated something as simple as logging in actually is?
Completely. Every time. In fact, just imagine an iceberg. So, what you see of an iceberg, the tip,
Tip.
that is what exactly a user sees. But beyond that, there are a lot of other components. For example, how the authorization is done, what kind of securities are there. If there is a breach happening, will my password be protected in that? Then also, role based access, then also, how do you make sure that a new employee gets onboarded securely?
Yeah.
And a very interesting thing, imagine that your employee today goes, they might have, like you said, more than 10, 20 applications you are using. So if there's an employee who leaves the organization, do you think manually is it possible to remove all those minimum 20 different accesses? There might be a miss.
Yeah, maybe hours or several minutes to remove them.
And if I tell you that there's a solution which can just help you to remove that with one single click.
That's great. I think that's where again Okta plays that.
Yes.
I remember those single valve, where you kind of shut it and then the entire floor, let's say a water supply or something, right, where you want to stop that, and there's one single button and a valve, you press it and everything is good.
True.
Like a fire alarm,
Yes.
a fire extinguisher maybe.
Yes.
Great. So I have about 37 passwords, and that's real. And I'm convinced none of them are good, right? Why are we still living like this?
First of all, 37 passwords, and you remember that, kudos to you. I will not be able to remember 37 passwords. There are chances that I might reuse a lot of passwords, and I have been doing that. guilty.
Yeah.
Now tell me that you know all these 37 passwords, and how do you tell that is it a good password or a bad password? There's nothing in this world which is a good or the most secure password, because every password is breakable.
Yeah.
So why don't you stop thinking about passwords and think about something more seamless? And with seamless, when I say it's as simple as using your face recognition or your biometrics with your fingerprints,
Yeah.
that simple, but which is very secure and unique. I know it sounds like a James Bond movie, but yes, that is what we do.
Great. Be honest. Are passwords dying, or have we been saying that for last 10 years?
We have been saying that for the last 10 years, but it has to die, because just like you said, 37 passwords in the
Yeah.
previous discussion. So remembering passwords is cumbersome, and for a normal person it's very difficult to remember and use those passwords. Imagine you have 10 different shopping websites
Yeah.
and you keep password for each and every one, so you have to remember. Normally I have seen people using passwords like password at the rate 123.
1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, I was just doing some research, and in one of the countries, I'll not name it, but you can connect to any of the public Wi-Fi's using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you ask me, are passwords dying? It has to die. Otherwise, your first level of security is always a risk. And you give an entry to an adversary to your environment, after that it becomes battle. It's always prevention is better than cure.
True. We were talking about these 37 passwords, right? How do we remember it? I think very recently I happened to have a word with one of the banking BFSI segment leader. So I was having a conversation with him, and he says one of the biggest challenge today in India is there are a lot of people rurally, right, who might have went and deposited money 20 years back, where there was no Aadhaar, or there was no PAN cards, or some sort of social security numbers, which has been given by the government. So, and in those days, the banking had I would say, process where somebody had to introduce you to the
Yes.
bank, right? Hey, I
Yes.
know her, and sign on your behalf, kind of. So today there is a challenge. The digitization is a bigger challenge, especially where people say people have grown old, and many of them may not even remember which bank did I deposit, or this bank would have merged with one another, and or there might be a sudden demise of that person, right? So how do you now recover and find out which bank did my grandpa had his deposits? So this is still a mystery, for the large nations to solve, and especially I'm talking about, this podcast is definitely for the world, but talking about India as one of the largely populated country, this becomes a big challenge for us to solve, right? And why I'm saying this banking topic in this security podcast is also about, it's not just about finding the bank account, it's also how do you authenticate a family member, right? I mean, I should not be allowed to go and claim that, hey, that was my grandfather, right? So how do you authenticate? So this becomes another challenge for AI era to solve, right? How do I identify this? And then there is another challenge, which is again kind of tailed into this, where if you look at our banking system, there are centralized banks, and then there are cooperative banks.
Yes.
So I was surprised to know that these cooperative banks are not under core banking system. So how do you even find out, right? There are, I think, 1,800 cooperative banks, or maybe 1,200 or 1,800. I don't know the right numbers, but yeah, I mean, it's above 1,000 for sure, right? So I think this is where the digital security, I think, should play a very, very emerging role in the future as well.
You brought in a very lovely point about, like the banking sector
Yeah.
especially. So this is what we call as fragmentation. This is one of the biggest evils which we see in today's market.
Yeah.
Because identity as such, now I might say that I'm Moumita, you say that you are Garish. But how do you confirm that I am Moumita? So there has to be some logic, some check,
Correct.
some algorithms behind that. And with fragmentation, just like you said, cooperative banks, with centralized banks, the data is everywhere and it's all fragmented. So if you want to have complete control with complete monitoring capability, you need to have a very centralized view and monitoring of this entire ecosystem.
Correct.
And that is what we should always focus on.
Correct. Thank you, Moumita. That was great thought. Uh, so, what's the biggest security myth people still believe?
That we are secured.
Yeah, I mean, I think a few years ago, even I had the similar myth. It took a while for me to, realize. But then now, yes, because I'm also into a role of protecting organizations. I think security becomes a paramount for me as well as for all the organizations that I work for. So, when a company gets breached, it's quite interesting question. Is it usually some genius hacker, or is it something much simpler?
Trust me, it's always much simpler. See, it's all about psychology, okay? So now you want to, or humans, or hackers, like how we love to call them, they love to do things which are simple, which are easy for them to break in.
Sure.
And they might not even think of breaking in, like identifying a door and then entering. They might just want to try and identify your credentials and then get an entry. Now, how does this work entirely? So, definitely, sophisticated attackers are always there, but they create one motion, and that motion gets, replicated by many other actors. You might get hundreds of such requests, which might be really dangerous,
Yep.
and that can develop into something more bad. So that is where I say that that attack is always something very simple. It's always something, a very simple part of your network which might be left open, or where there might be a misconfiguration which can be exploited. So that's what I feel.
Thank you. That was a lovely answer. So I have a few more questions. I know we have been continuously conversing here. So I've heard someone say hackers don't break in anymore; they log in. How true is that?
Okay, I'll tell you this. So imagine that you have a closed room. Now, this analogy was given to me when I started my corporate career. That imagine a room which has your crown jewels, or which has your data. Data is our crown jewel. And you might have a lot of doors and windows in that. Now, breaking in is okay, where someone tries to, kind of observe that what happens over a month, over 2 months. Is there any crack? Is there any door which has been left open? Is there any window through which I can pass in? But that takes time. Instead of that, if I can find an administrative password, which is easy to find nowadays, credential thefts are the largest one through which any attack happens. So that happens in a very quick moment. That happens very quickly, in a very fast manner. And today, time is money. So for hackers, they do not have time to just sit and wait for a focused attack. Rather than that, what they will try to do is identify the administrator and just break in. So that's what they're trying to do today.